Welcome to another episode of Believe That. We are not a good podcast, not a bad podcast, just the podcast for everything about WWE's most polarizing superstar, Roman Reigns. Did you think that just because Roman wasn't on TV this week, we wouldn't have a show? Mike Janella here with you. My co-host, as always, Betsy Struxness. They couldn't hold us down, Bets. They could not hold us down.
Absolutely not. No ambulance flipping, no gurney pushing off a loading dock, no Roman, no podcast. Nope, we still got plenty to talk about.
Yeah, right. In fact, we have our first ever guests in an episode. We did have patron saint of the podcast, Bobby Kruger, who we forgot to mention last week for the first time ever. Our bad Bobby. He came on as a sort of bonus episode to talk about our time at WrestleMania. But we have from ESPN's Cheap Heat podcast, Stat Guy Greg is on the episode today. We talked to him about a whole lot of Roman stuff. It was a pretty cool chat, Betsy. What'd you think about Greg's appearance?
Oh, it was a great chat. You know, I keep expecting us to run into a hater. Couple haters. But, you know, we haven't really gotten a hater on yet. I guess we have to look for one.
Yeah.
But no, I think he's got some really good. I think he has some really interesting things to say and to bring up within the whole, you know, scope of Roman that maybe you and I haven't thought about or mentioned, or maybe other people haven't thought about.
Yeah. So we'll get to that chat pretty soon here in a minute or two. We do want to let you know that if there are any sound quality issues, Betsy and I are on Skype, which is a superior audio recording experience. But then Greg, we have to dial him on his cell phone, so you know how that always gets. So apologies if you're having a hard time hearing any of us, but hey, we're giving you this for free, so you get your money back if you don't like anything we got going on. Before we get to that, though, we do want to, and it's mentioned by Greg as well, send our condolences to Roman. His brother passed away this week, actually the day before we recorded this. Matt Anoa'i, who wrestling fans may know better as Rosie. He was a one-time WWE Tag Team Champ. Early century, 2002 to 06, I believe, is when he wrestled for the company. 47 years old, leaves behind a wife and 3 kids. And, I mean, Betsy, that's just devastating to lose anyone that early. But obviously our thoughts and prayers with Roman and the whole wrestling family for that loss.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. So, time now, without further ado, to get to Stat Guy Greg from ESPN's Cheap Heat. So take a listen. Here you go. You may know him as the physically strong. You may know him as the stat guy. You may know him as The Verge. Either way, he is one of the most mage wrestling personalities in the podcasting game today, and now my close personal friend. Here he is, none other than ESPN Cheap Heat's Stat Guy Greg. Welcome to Believe That, my man.
Oh, man, I'm happy to be here with you guys.
Good. We're happy to have you.
We've only had one guest before, and it was the guy who made this podcast, who put Betsy and me together, and it was like its own episode. So you are the first ever guest to come on mid-show, mid-episode, Greg. You're making history, dude. How's that feel?
Feels wonderful. Like it's like a breath of fresh air to get treated like an actual star instead of being next to Peter Rosenberg, where I'm like the also-ran. But this is good.
Yeah, so if you don't know, I highly recommend Cheap Heat. It's with Peter Rosenberg, who you may have seen on WWE kickoff shows. You may know him from Hot 97. And he undoubtedly hogs all the spotlight. But now, Greg, we want a chance to give you some shine. So this is your chance to finally come out of the shadows of Rosenberg. But obviously, we want to talk to you, Greg, about the guy that this show is all about, Roman Reigns. And we figured this was a good week, since Roman was nowhere to be seen on TV, to have someone come on and chat about it. So I guess just right off the bat, give us some of your general thoughts on Roman. You've mentioned him. You talk about him plenty on your show, obviously. But what's the general Stat Guy Greg take on Roman Reigns?
Well, before we get to that, I think condolences are in order. His brother, who was also a former WWE superstar, passed away.
Yep.
This week. So, you know, sending condolences out to Roman Reigns and his family in this time. But as far as Roman Reigns is concerned, I'm all in on Roman Reigns right now. It took me a little bit to come around because when he was in the Shield, I was a fan of all 3 of them: Reigns, Rollins, and Ambrose. And when they separated, I wasn't sure how I felt about Roman Reigns. I was kind of like all the other fans who felt like he was being shoved down our throats. But I've since reformed. I feel like we've been brainwashed into thinking that by who I don't know, but that's just not facts. And it's true that Roman Reigns is on a hot streak and has been stringing together some top quality matches, and he deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do in the ring. So I'm all in on Roman.
Betsy, how do you think about the sound of that? I mean, we have someone who almost sounds as pro Roman as you.
It is music to my ears.
But obviously, Greg. I mean, we talked about him on the show. Obviously, we dedicate a whole show to him, and yeah, the in-ring work. I don't think it's almost unassailable at this point. It's not at the level of an AJ Styles or anything, but for what he is, Roman, we think in the ring is great. But there are still parts of him that need a lot of work done. So specifically, so you gave us your kind of abstract thoughts. What do you like most about him? The character. We're not talking about Joe Anoa'i, like the person, but the Roman Reigns character. What do you like most, and what do you dislike most about what we've seen from the big dog in his time in WWE?
Well, first of all, what is there to dislike? Smug Roman is at the top of his game right now. There's hardly anything to dislike. Everything that people presented as sort of a knock to him, it's almost mythological. Like, we say it and we believe it. But is it really true? Like, is that really what's happening every Monday night and some Sundays? Not exactly. Not to me anyway. So I don't really know what there is to really dislike about him. I guess if I had to choose, which it sounds like I do, I dislike that he doesn't have a championship title around his waist and he's not the guy at the moment, but he doesn't need to be. He's sort of one of the few people who are above that. And what do I like about him? I like how dependable he is. There's sports entertainment, and he gives us both. When he's on the screen, if he's not in a match, we're entertained. And if he is in a match, then he's one of the best in the sport. He's athletic. He's strong. He has proven that he can give a 4-star match with anybody in any style, any size. He's right in that sweet spot. So, yeah. What is there to dislike? I can't really think of anything, but there's a lot to love about Roman.
I mean, we could think of a couple things. Betsy, you want to jump in here for some things? Maybe you want to get Greg's opinion on that. Maybe you think Roman could do better at.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed numerous times on that some of Roman's promos are a little less than energized, and I could personally use the intensity that he brings in the ring. I would like to see in his promos, and as of right now, his promos feel a little lackluster in comparison to the performance he gives in the ring. That's pretty much my only criticism, really, of him as a performer. Do you have any thoughts on his promos?
I'll say this about his promos and just promos in general. I feel like as wrestling fans, we're conditioned to like a certain type of promo guy or just like a certain type of promo. And on the mic, if things aren't delivered a certain way, they don't necessarily register the way they should. And he just doesn't deliver promos in the way that we've been conditioned to take them. But he is a good promo. I mean, the point of a promo is to sell you on the match and hook you and get you interested. So, like, he's not going to bring the Ric Flair type promo style or Triple H or anything like that. But people are never tuned out. Nobody's ever really checked out of a Roman Reigns promo. And they do get you fired up for the match. So, I mean, he does his job. Whether he does it the same way that The Rock or anybody else does, it doesn't really matter.
Interesting. I hadn't really thought about it from the standpoint of like we're sort of conditioned to like a certain type of promo. Like, I wonder if you're now going to turn me around a little bit on the Roman Reigns promos.
Well, I mean, it's true though, because even like my favorite wrestler is Bret Hart, and he has the same issue. Like, people will say that he was not a great promo, but he didn't. He was a good promo, but he wasn't the same style of promo that we're conditioned to love. Like, everybody thinks of The Rock or Ric Flair. You can quote Dusty Rhodes and all these guys, but at the end of the day, you never really checked out of a Bret Hart promo, and you really did get more interested to see the match, and he did make you feel what he was saying. So he's still an effective promo, and the same thing with Roman Reigns. Nobody really ever checks out. You feel what he's saying. He gets you interested to see the match.
You're right.
I mean, I got to step in here to slightly disagree. And without Rosenberg here to put you in your place, Greg, I guess that lies on my shoulders now. But, yes, you never check out of a Roman promo. That's true. But just because it's captivating doesn't mean it's good. I mean, there are some lines he's forced over the years or when he goes on a little bit too long. And, yeah, I'm never checked out, but I'm also rolling my eyes at it sometimes. And this is from someone who actually likes the guy. I can only imagine the haters. That's just fuel to the fire. Although maybe that's the whole point is what you're saying.
Yeah, that is the whole point. We don't like he doesn't care if you boo him or you cheer him, but you're listening. Even when it runs on long, you're listening. Even when you're like, okay, get to the point, you're still hanging on every word. So once you said you don't care if you're captivated because of the other emotions, like all that is extra. You're captivated, and that's it. He did his job.
It's an interesting way of looking at it, and a very forgiving way, because that is, I mean, when you put it that way, then yes, Roman's the best promo in the business, because everyone's always watching what he says, even if you hate it half the time. But
not the best promo, but he's among the best, though, total package-wise.
Right. I mean, there's a reason that we've made this whole show after him, because, yeah, he does deliver on the captivation, obviously,
there we go.
Week in, week out. Is there anything, I mean, you've already, so I was going to ask you, how would you make him better? You've already kind of given the answer. You'd give him a title belt, but do you see any tweaks, even assuming Roman's the best wrestler on earth right now or your favorite? How can you make good great? How can you make great better? What would you, if Roman was listening, what would you suggest, if anything, either in ring or out, to take him to that next level, make him even better than he already is?
I think the only thing left for him to do, right, is to step over onto the dark side for a little bit and just try and heal. That's what everybody's waiting for. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be the only thing to do. But barring that, he's doing everything right. He's doing everything right besides that.
He came so close. I mean, Betsy, you can talk about this. We were so excited after that Raw After Mania promo where he just stood in the ring silent for all those boos and the chants. And we thought, oh, baby, it's finally here. The heel turn, it's coming next week. And then they do this whole like babyface beatdown against the odds of Strowman. I mean, that was frustrating for me. Betsy, what do you think about what Greg had to say?
No, I mean, I agree. I was ready. The stuff after WrestleMania was just so spectacular. And then to bring in the beat down from Strowman, which was, fun to watch, but just doesn't forward Roman's story very well, I don't think.
Greg, you agree with that in terms of, you say we're never going to see this, even if you would love a dark side turn. You just don't think it's going to happen. This is proof that, that was as good of a chance as any to turn him, right?
It's not going to happen, and we know it's not going to happen because it's the same thing with Cena. Like, they took him close to the edge a few times, and they never did that. And now it's almost like heel Cena is not, there's no point to doing that. Like, that ship has sailed.
Right.
And I think it's the same thing with Roman. They're gonna flirt with the line, and then when the time is right, well, the time might have already passed, but once we hit that point where the time has clearly passed, then it'll be more of a real possibility. But I don't think it's anything we're gonna see.
Dang it.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because either at this point, there's going to be no time better than this Monday after Mania that just passed. That was the time to do it if you were going to do an explicit heel turn. Now you either have to do the Cena route where you keep him the way he is forever and eventually fans will start coming around on him again, or the Hogan route, like you said, Greg, where it's going to be once Roman is stale and no one cares and is apathetic, then you turn him heel and hope for the best. But by that point, people just might not care. So, maybe we're stuck with this gray area Roman for the rest of his career.
Maybe, but let me ask you this, though. everyone that wants a heel Roman, right? How do you do it? Like, what do you do? What do you do that makes it different than him right now, so that the message has been sent loud and clear that I'm the bad guy now?
Man, Greg, you've Rosenberg's rubbed off on you because you're becoming a professional broadcaster. Because I was going to ask you that question, and you beat me to it. So let's do this. Betsy, why don't you answer Greg first, how you would do it, and then Greg, I want you to answer us how you would book Roman for the ultimate heel turn that we all want, but are probably never going to get. So Betsy, go ahead.
There's part of me that almost wants to turn him heel by just taking away every single opportunity to do a promo or to speak, so that he just no longer feels the need to get to say anything, like to communicate anything to the crowd with words, to just be like, well, whatever, you don't like me, fine, then I won't talk, and I will just continue to plow through everyone you put in front of me. Like, I think that could be interesting. And so that then all of his communication with the crowd could even be like nonverbal after a match. Like, once he's won, and everybody's booing, to just stand there and like look at them all and smirk, and then just be like, okay, I'm good. And then walk off.
All right.
I think that could be interesting.
That's how Betsy would do it. How about you, Greg?
I mean, I don't know. Because even that doesn't change much.
No,
right
it doesn't.
now, because he's gonna do that, and then some people will boo and some people will cheer, just like they do it right now. I think the only way to really send that signal is to completely change his look, like make him almost unrecognizable. Which
do you
should
mean
be
getting
easy
rid of
because
the flak jacket and the vest, Greg? How dare you?
That might even mean
That's
getting
the
rid of
only
the
way.
hair.
Yeah, shaved head maybe?
That
Like,
is
how
the
would you
only
change
way.
the look? Give me some specifics.
So I don't even know. Like, when Cena was supposed to turn heel, right? Supposedly he had a robe and like new tights and all of that made up. So you got to go extreme. That's the only way I can say it. You got to make it so that like this is a new guy with a new change in his attitude, and like I said, make him almost unrecognizable, to the point where, because even Hogan, right, when he turned heel, he went from colorful red and yellow to black and white, like muted it out. And that's the only way to do it. It can't be like Big Show or TJ Perkins, where like they turn and then the next week they still have the same music and the same style, but they're turned. He's so entrenched in one way and so recognizable and almost iconic that you have to kill all of that. That's the only way. But I don't think they're going to do it.
Well, especially because he's already in all black, you know what I mean? He's already dressed like a heel, basically, and he's got the goatee and the hair, so maybe he comes out in, like, Bailey colors and tries to be super happy Roman, and that's how you really turn him heel, just, like, totally subvert it. I think, because you can still tell in the promos, even though he's saying, like, I'm just the guy, I'm not a good guy, bad guy, whatever, he's still, the way he talks, it's like he's still looking for the crowd respect. And I think what he has to do is just give these promos where the people are booing and he's acknowledging it, like, give me the boos, I don't care, almost like dismissing the people, as opposed to, I don't know, there's just that extra piece missing where I think he could be a little bit more condescending to the fans, and he's not there yet. The other thing is just the nuclear option is to bring back The Rock at some point and have Roman turn on him, but that's, I mean, I don't know how realistic that is.
Right. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they ever can do it or will do it. Because I always assumed that Cena, being the consummate professional that he is, and the face of the company, I had always assumed that was sort of his decision. But I'm still new-ish into the wrestling fandom, as I've only really been watching since like 2010. So, what do I know?
I mean, it's a tough spot.
You know more than you might think. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I have this vision now. You mentioned Greg about Cena in a robe. I'm just picturing Roman Reigns coming out in like a Ric Flair, Bobby Roode type robe, uh, like next Monday, and I can only imagine. Too much stuff, man.
Or even like a suit or something.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that's yeah, a suit. I think. Well, we love the Roman man bun. We think he should come out in the ponytail more often. That could be his most heel move, is just wrestling in the man bun.
yeah, yeah, I think so too.
We like it.
Well,
Suit and the man
actually, I
bun.
mean, yeah, because if you put them in the suit, it's always when the wrestlers show up in the suit that they're very much, part of the upper echelon of the company. It's usually when they're in like the good graces of Triple H and whatnot that they're in their suits, just like Triple H.
Right, and we saw Kevin Owens do that when he showed up on SmackDown on the Shake-Up. So it's very heel. The suits equals heel. All right, Greg. So we're gonna get you out of here in a little bit, but how would you book the next 6 months for Roman Reigns?
6 months. Okay, let's see. So wait, it's April now. So 6 months takes him to what? October, just before Survivor Series.
Yeah, so let's say Survivor Series. Let's book him through Survivor Series. So not into like next WrestleMania season just yet, but right before the end of the year. How would you take him?
Okay, so payback. Roman is hurt, and Braun destroys him again. You announced just before the match that it's going to be no DQ, and then Braun attacks him during his entrance and sends him to the hospital again. And maybe even we get what I thought we were going to get on Monday, and Braun shows up at the hospital and beats him down, right?
I would love that. I would love that.
And then we don't see Roman again. So that takes care of the end of April. We don't see him all May. Money in the Bank comes and goes, and we don't see him June. And then July, he shows up on Raw just as Braun Strowman is about to thrash somebody else, because this whole time Braun has been going on a tear, and he beats the hell out of Braun Strowman. Right?
Yep.
He destroys Braun Strowman. That leads to him and Braun Strowman into a match at SummerSlam. Same rules, no DQ, but this time Braun doesn't get the better of Roman. It's another hard-fought match like the one they had, except Roman comes out on top. And then he sets his eye on the Universal Champion, who by this time should still be Brock Lesnar. And they go into a program that would lead them into Survivor Series and possibly into Mania.
Interesting.
But you have like a new unstoppable Roman who just conquered Braun Strowman going against the Beast.
Man, if we haven't seen Unstoppable Roman yet, and Unstoppable is still to come, I don't even know what that means. He'll be like bulletproof, but I love it, Greg. That's a very strong booking for Roman, which we appreciate on this show.
Absolutely.
And he gets a little vacation too.
Yeah, well, that's the only bad thing is that if you want Roman off of TV for May and June, what are we going to do about this show? That's the problem. We need some content every week, man.
We are going to get very creative. That's what we will do.
That's for sure. Actually, I don't know if we're going to have time to talk about this more between Betsy and me, Stat Guy Greg, but we're going to do this at some point on an episode because we always discuss if Roman couldn't wrestle anymore after today, and so with the Braun beatdown, potentially threatening his career in kayfabe, let's pretend, would Roman already be a Hall of Famer if he didn't wrestle another day in his life? What do you think?
I think the answer is yes, he would.
All right.
Yep, he would. First of all, he's part of like a legendary family, so that right there. And he's not like a slouch in this family. This family includes The Rock and Yokozuna, and I think he's the only other world champion. So that right there puts him in the conversation, just so that when they start talking about great wrestling families, he's right there. His family is right there. He's a big part of that. But then you have the Shield, which I don't care what anybody says. I know the Four Horsemen was cool and Evolution and all that, but the Shield, for my money, is the best faction ever. Just because you had these guys with no name come in and dominate, and then after the split, they all held the championship. They were all champion in the same night, which is crazy, but it's like they made so much history together, and there's still more to come from that. But out of the three of them, he's held the main championship the most. He was in the main event of 3 WrestleManias in a row now, which only John Cena and Hulk Hogan can say that. I don't even think Stone Cold can say that. Yeah, he's done it all quietly too. Like, you don't even notice that he's racking up all these accolades, but he's done it. He's just sitting right there. So,
man,
if there's any, even if it ended today, the Roman Reigns lore can be built up so crazy that he's good to go.
Brr, 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 the hot take horn, the Shield, the greatest faction of all time. Roman Reigns, already a Hall of Famer. That's awesome, Greg. Betsy, you and I can discuss this on a separate episode later. But now we have, and Greg's a lawyer by trade, so that was a very persuasive argument from the defense, I guess, in this case.
Yep, I agree.
All right, Greg, I think we're going to do this with every guest that we have on. We're going to do a 3 count at the end, so the same 3 questions for everyone. You can explain as much or as little as you want for your answer. But question number 1, you've already mentioned him earlier, so just to repeat, who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Excellence of execution. Yeah.
It was, and it will be.
And I recommend highly for any newbies who don't know Cheap Heat, go back and search the episodes where Greg defends Hitman against the former Cheap Heat co-host Brian Campbell and HBK Shawn Michaels on who's better all time. Incredible listening. And you can listen to why Greg thinks Bret is the best of all time on those episodes. What about question number 2, though, Greg, in the 3 count? What's your favorite match of all time?
My favorite match of all time is obviously a Bret Hart match. It's Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, SummerSlam 1994 steel cage match for the WWE Championship.
An all-timer. I remember watching that one live on pay-per-view as a kid. Question number 3, the last one in the 3 count, Greg. What do you tell people from outside the wrestling world when they ask you why you like wrestling? What's your elevator pitch, your response as to why, as grown adults, you're still so much into this world?
Oh, man, I don't even give an elevator pitch. Like, when somebody tries to question me or ask, why do you like wrestling, or they go down that road, then I'll ask them, why do you like Harry Potter? Or why do you like reality TV? Because I guarantee you that for as ridiculous as somebody thinks wrestling is, they have something that they get excited about that you think is just as ridiculous, whether it is comic book movies. And I like comic books movies too, but and I like reality TV too, but it's all ridiculous and it's all entertainment. So to tell me that something is scripted, it doesn't do anything to shy away from wrestling for me. It's just like, you don't get it, just like I don't get your obsession with X. And that's really all it is. It's like, you watch it for the entertainment, not because you think it's real, but it's just something about those characters that get you wrapped up in it. And that's the same exact thing that's happening over here. It's not any different. But everybody has something, so it's like, we're all hypocrites when it comes to that.
So beautifully and eloquently put. Betsy, you got anything else for Greg before we let him go?
I don't. It's been a fun conversation. I've enjoyed it.
Well,
Thank
there you go,
I've
Stat
enjoyed it
Guy.
as well.
You want to let people know where they can find you online and all your social media and all that stuff?
Yes, at Stat Guy Greg on Instagram and Twitter. I don't have a Facebook. And like Mike said, I'm a lawyer by trade, but there's all kinds of weird attorney advertising rules, so I never know what and how to plug myself But if you Google Greg Hyde, attorney, NYC, you'll find me.
All right, perfect. There you go. And yeah, Greg, man, spread the word. If you know any fans, I'm not going to ask for a plug on Cheap Heat because I know you guys, that's prime real estate, but you know anybody that loves Roman or wants another podcast in their iTunes queue, you let them know where to find us, all right?
Everybody loves Roman.
New tagline for the show. Awesome. Greg, thanks so much, man. We'll catch you again later.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, later.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
So there you have it. Our thanks once again to Stat Guy Greg from ESPN's Cheap Heat. We definitely recommend after you rate and review and subscribe to our show that you do the same for those guys over there. It's one of the I'd say it's the only podcast I listen to every single week without fail. The rest kind of come and go in my life, but that one definitely does. And Betsy, give the people our slogan one more time if they're going to be finding us on iTunes.
Review us and rate us, even if you hate us.
That's it. Awesome. So thanks to Greg. Betsy, what was your big takeaway from having Greg on the show from everything that he said there?
He extolled the virtues of Roman Reigns even more than you and I did. And I really liked his insights about, his thoughts on if Roman were to end his career now, would he be in the Hall of Fame? Like, I thought the whole conversation about the family I found that fascinating.
Yeah, and as we said in the interview, it's something that you and I, Betsy, have been tossing about because just in case a week like this happens more often where Roman is not on TV, we're going to need to have stuff to talk about, and that's kind of one of the topics that we have in the quiver. Is Roman a Hall of Famer if he retired today? We already got a taste of that from Greg. I don't think we're going to do that today just because we've already done a lot on the show, but it's coming, that discussion, because I've got a couple of counterpoints just playing devil's advocate that I'd love to throw your way. All right, so Roman obviously was not on TV this week, but we know he's fighting Braun at Payback quickly. What do you think about that? How do you see that match going? We'll talk about it more as the weeks come, but were you happy with that decision being made already so soon, just 1 week after the now infamous beatdown?
I mean, it makes sense because of the beatdown. But again, I think that Braun Strowman for me just isn't there yet. I mean, even his match with Big Show this week where they, destroyed the ring, which I love when they do that. But, they have to do it they wind up doing it, every 5 or so years. I think the last time the ring got destroyed was Big Show and Mark Henry.
And I know Big Show and Lesnar have done it too on SmackDown. So yeah, it's like Haley's Comet. It comes around every once in a while. It's cool to see.
It is.
Yeah.
But what happened, I was like, oh, right, of course it would happen during this match. Excited about it. But again, I just don't feel like Braun Strowman is at the degree that Roman Reigns is at. And so it's still just sort of like I don't care. I should, but I don't.
I disagree with you.
Right.
If Roman was holding a belt, if this was for the Universal title, then I would agree. Maybe Braun's not ready yet. But the fact that he's just going after Roman, the guy, I love it. And Braun, he has, since they gave him this singles push last summer, he has really impressed me and surprised me. And when you see what they've been doing with the other ex-Wyatt family guys, just kind of struggling and to swim and stay above water, this has been very impressive. And he on the mic is perfect. Roman should take notes from him because everything he says is short, it's sweet, it's energetic, it's fiery, and there have been some bumps along the road, 100%. Yep. But for the size of man he is, I think his character is perfect right now. When he picked up Kalisto, it's like Roman's trash and now you are too. That was amazing. I loved it.
Maybe I just need more time with it, but as of right now, I just don't care. And I don't know what Braun is going to have to do to get me to care. Maybe it's just the consistency of work so that if he keeps it up and he keeps it up, I'll be like, I am on board. But right now, I am not on board.
Which happens with wrestlers all the time. Someone, you don't love them at first, and they just win you over through sheer consistency and persistence. So maybe that's what Braun has to do for you. But for me, I'm all on the Braun train, the B train.
Great. So are you excited about their match at Payback?
That's a different question. Because from Roman's side, for Braun's side, I'm excited, but like Roman already beat him clean at the pay-per-view before WrestleMania. So like, I'm not happy with the story because like, what does Braun have? What's his motivation? Why is Roman going back in reverse when he's already beaten this guy clean in the ring with no stipulation? Like, I just don't see what it does for Roman. But now that he's been hospitalized with his cracked ribs and separated shoulder, quote unquote, I guess that's all the motivation he needs. But like, what happens? Because if Roman wins and completes this miraculous comeback from the hospital, then everyone's just booing him for being forced back to the top and spoon-fed to us again. If Braun wins, then it's like, well, it's 1-1 now, so I guess you got to do this a third time to settle the trilogy and settle the score. So that I'm not excited for, but I'm excited for Braun.
Well, right, but and also if Braun wins, like Braun's winning the next like if he wins the payback match, he's winning the next pay-per-view after Roman beat Undertaker at WrestleMania. I don't agree. Like I don't agree with storyline wise either. So maybe that's why I'm just like not buying it.
That I can see, yeah. So I'm not in on maybe the feud or the storyline, but what Braun is doing on a week-to-week basis, I am 100% on that bandwagon for sure. Very interested to see what they do with Lesnar too, because Braun already kind of called him out. So there's that big elephant in the room too.
And Heyman called out Roman.
It's a Mexican standoff, Betsy. I mean, I'm guessing. Here's how it's probably going to play out: some kind of schmoz finish at Payback. And then Lesnar shows up, and Heyman's like, I don't know why you guys are scrapping when you're going to end up losing to my client anyway. And they probably have some triple threat match at Money in the Bank or something with all three of them involved before they shoot off to SummerSlam stories. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
So we'll see. All right, we've given you guys plenty of episode already, and our thanks again to Stat Guy Greg for coming on this week and chatting with us on a week when Roman was not on television. So let's get to our end game here. Superman punches, how many would you give Roman if you had to this week?
0. He wasn't there.
Yeah, we grade him 0 to 10. I'm going to be nice and give him an incomplete. If you want to give him a 0, you can give him a 0.
Yeah, it's an incomplete for sure.
All right, quickest segment we've done in the history of this show. How about now our usual Samoan drop, the time where we drop talk of our favorite Samoan and talk about something else that caught your attention in WWE this week. What else was on your plate and radar this week, Bets?
Samoan drop. I haven't watched SmackDown yet, and I just barely got in Raw before we filmed this, and I don't know, like it wasn't really grabbing my attention. You know, I liked the women's match ish, but because they're putting so many tag team, triple threat, quadruple threat, whatever, we're seeing all the women all the time. So we're not really getting anything new. Like, it doesn't really feel like much new is happening right now when it should be a time that new stuff is happening, because you've tied up things from WrestleMania. You had the superstar shakeup. All right. So shake up the storyline. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel really creative right now.
Yeah, it's almost with the women, and I think with some of the tag teams more on SmackDown side, it's kind of like what they did with the Cruiserweights when they debuted. It's let's just put as many of them as possible in as many matches as possible. There's no smaller storylines. There's no nuanced or layered storytelling. It's frustrating for the women right now. I 100% agree.
Yeah, and as a woman watching it, when you had this like revolution that was happening, to go from that to what's happening right now, I'm a little like, oh, this needs to be figured out. Because they've got some great women.
What's that?
They've got some great women.
They do, and they're more equally distributed now after the shakeup. I think moving Charlotte to SmackDown was great. That's my Samoan drop while we're talking about the women. You haven't seen it yet at the time of this recording. It's nothing like that's going to blow your mind, but it's a Charlotte Naomi program. Not to spoil anything for you. I won't give you any more than that, but it looked good. They work well together, and I like the dynamic, and it looks like that's what we're building to. So that's what I like and what Raw's not doing. You're getting a story. You're getting new characters that have not been mixed up and matched up recently. They're doing it. So I hope you enjoy that on SmackDown, because that's what really caught my eye in a positive way this week.
Yeah, especially with how athletic both of those women are. Like that seems great. Like it would be interesting to have like an Alexa Bliss Sasha feud.
Yeah.
Because they're both little, they're both flexible, they're both awesome. Like I think the two of them together without any other things in there would be great. And I just don't think they know what to do with Nia Jax because she's so powerful.
She's a problem, and we'll talk about this, I guess, at another time when she's maybe in a title match or something. But they are making it to the point where eventually she's going to look unbeatable. And how do you, when you have one person that's so unstoppable in a division like that, how can you plausibly have anyone realistically beat her unless it's 3 or 4 women tagging up at once?
They need to bring back Karma.
Oh, that's your booking idea. There we go. Oh man. All right, good stuff. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us this week, Betsy. So yeah, Roman off TV, but that did not stop us.
Absolutely not.
Let the folks know where they can find us, where they can find you, and what they better be doing once they get to our podcast online.
That's right. On Facebook, I'm Betsy Struxness. On Instagram and Twitter, I am at BE_Strux, STRUX. Go and look at our podcast. Look at it. Well, yeah, you can because it's on YouTube.
Yep.
And listen to it and, tell us about all your feelings about it. We want to hear all your feels. Good, bad, ugly, everything.
It's a safe space, so you tell us everything. Yeah, we are on iTunes, so review and subscribe us there. We're on Stitcher, Google Play. You can watch us on YouTube to see our pretty faces along with our amazing commentary. And just let us know what you guys think because we're having a lot of fun doing this and hope to do the same. All right, Betsy, thanks so much. Talk to you again next week.
All right, sounds good.
See ya. And thanks to you guys for watching and or listening. Don't forget, we're not a good podcast, not a bad podcast. We're just the podcast. We'll see you next week. Believe that.